21 Pilots, My Blood. You're listening to The Morning Grind, World Class Rock Y108. It is 9 degrees, a high of 11. And there's the sunshine, Zemniak.
It's here. You're not a filthy liar like I called you, all right?
It's crazy. It is going to be sunny. It's going to be nice. And get outside and enjoy it. In the meantime, we're talking about something people, I don't know, they just get this anxiety around talking about. And it's money. And we have a money guy. We have Marc.
Yes.
Marc Lefebvre.
You nailed it.
How do we say your last name, Marc?
Lefebvre.
Lefebvre.
Yeah. How did you? I missed.
Lefebvre.
You sound like a telemarketer.
Thank you.
You sound like every
his
third person
dream,
that calls
really.
my phone.
And Marc
to do that.
Lefebvre.
Just think
here.
like I'm your favorite person to speak to about money.
Wow.
Let's go with that.
That's
Let's
pretty
not
good.
go with that, but just for now.
And what are you? You're a money guy.
I'm a mortgage agent.
Okay.
So a little, I guess, money guy. I mean, I like to talk to people about their finances because it all helps them be able to get a mortgage. And you talk about credit scores, and you talk about all these things. And how long do I have to work at a job? And there's so many sort of layers to get a mortgage. It's not easy to get a mortgage. I've had it actually described to me as a lot like flying a plane. There's going to be turbulence. The oxygen masks will probably fall down at some point. You will pray to a God that you may or may not believe in.
Yeah.
But I fly planes and I land planes, so that's kind of my shtick.
Okay, and that's sort of where this came from. We have Ask a Cop, and every other week Claus Wagner's in, and he answers questions that I think people are too afraid to sort of ask a cop directly, and so this is kind of the same kind of thing. And I want to get right into it with a question we had about what's the difference between pre-qualified versus pre-approved when it comes to getting a mortgage, because it's a big difference, right?
Yeah, and this is one that it actually started to come up a lot last year, and I thought was going to be quelled this year, but it continues to come up. And it's people coming and saying, "Hey, listen, I went to the bank and I got pre-qualified for, let's just say, $500,000."
Yes.
The difference between a pre-qualify and a pre-approval, generally, when it gets to my point, I will pre-approve people versus pre-qualify because I don't want people to be sort of misinformed as to how much money they actually have. Pre-qualify is without sort of verification of the document. So you, Shauna, come up to me and you say, "Hey, listen, I work at Y108. I've been there for a set amount of years. I make this amount of money. I have like one credit card, a couple $1,000s on it. So I'm looking pretty good."
It's the lying stage.
Yes. It's before the truths have really been uncovered. And when you get to the pre-approval, that's when you have to provide me with a letter of employment saying, yes, I've worked at Y108 for this amount of time.
So don't put an offer on a house if you've just gone through pre-qualification. You really should have some kind of approval.
Yeah, well, the pre-qualify is sort of the first step. And I think that it's great because it gets people excited and it gets people starting to think about getting into the housing market. But if you want that actual number that, you say now to your real estate agent, "Hey, listen, I can go buy a house for $750,000 because the bank said I could." Well, then they're spending time looking for houses in that range. And then when it gets time to, "Hey, I'm going to buy this house and we want to get you actually approved for that money," then we find out that there is some missing information and maybe the amount that you said you made isn't exactly right. People exaggerate how much they make.
From the text device here, we have a question. What's the best way to get out of credit card debt?
Ooh.
Best way to get out of credit card debt, honestly, is time. You're going to have to, you got to figure out a way to get those paid. And there are, obviously lots of ways to do that. Just paying it. The problem is you look at credit card statements, and most people get e-statements now, so you don't actually see this page. But if you look at that back page on the old school ones that they used to print out, if you're just paying that minimum payment, it's going to take you 75 years or so.
Mine's like 144 years on one of those.
Yeah, you got to...
I'm going to die first, stupid company. The joke's on you.
But yeah, credit repair, a lot of it is just time. But credit card debt and getting out of that, there are, as I said, there are some options. Speaking to a financial advisor might be able to set you up with a proper plan to get them paid off. There are consumer proposals, which is sort of a way before bankruptcy where you can talk to a group that will consolidate your debts and maybe be able to work it down. So instead of that $80,000 that you think you owe, they might be able to get it lower. It will hurt your credit a little bit for the time being, but at that point, it's quality of life versus credit. And I think most people would choose quality of life at that point.
So don't see a guy named Vinny the Shark who actually keeps a shark.
Everybody everybody needs a solution, and sometimes Vinny the Shark can get you what
He'll
you
bring
need.
the shark right to your door.
Yes,
Pretty
that's the
great.
best thing.
Yeah,
A
absolutely.
quick last question from Thomas. He says he doesn't have any debt. Is buying a home right now still a good investment? I think people feel like, did I miss the boat on a good time to buy a house?
Absolutely
Still
not.
a good time?
Yes, absolutely not. It's actually a little bit more of a buyer's market as it is right now. So if you are looking, this is the time to get yourself pre-approved and start really pursuing that home dream. The reason I say that is because there's actually a lady that I work with, and she's fantastic. Her name is Teresa, and she always refers to the principal amount that you're paying on your mortgage as a savings account. So every time you're putting money on your mortgage, people just think, I'm paying my bill, paying my mortgage. No, you're actually putting money into a bank account that you can then tap later for equity. You know what I mean? The housing market is going to grow more than a savings account for the most part will as well. So it is a fantastic investment. It's tough to get a mortgage, like I said.
Yeah.
But if you can get in, I say, why pay someone else's mortgage?
Okay.
Awesome.
How can people get in touch with you?
You can email me, Marc, M-A-R-C-L, as in Lefebvre,
All right.
at mi35.ca.
Okay, perfect.
We'll post that.
We'll
That
post
seems
that.
like a lot.
And we'll see you again in here because I think there's going to be lots of questions. People have lots of money questions.
Excellent.
We have music coming up from Metallica and Sloan after this.